September 24th Board of Selectmen meeting. We will discuss in the coming weeks when we want to go back in person and still continue the Zoom option, but for the time being, we're going to stick with Zoom, at least for the next few weeks. With that, as we always do, we will ask you all to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and then also to remain standing for a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United
States of America
and
and to the republic
for
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty
and
and justice for all. Okay, I'd like to ask everybody just to remain standing for a moment of silence for Stu Ryder, who passed away recently. Stu was a member of the RTM, the RTC, and also a member of GRAB, Greenwich Recycling Advisory Board, for many, many years. Just a wonderful guy. And he passed away a few weeks ago and it just came to our attention now. So a moment of silence for Stu. Thank you.
Fred, I'd like to make a motion to amend our agenda.
Okay.
I'd like to motion to amend our agenda to add a temporary road closure as item D and to move our proposed settlement to item E.
Okay.
Jill Oberlander, I'll second that motion.
All those in favor, Fred Camillo votes yes.
Jill Oberlander votes yes.
Lauren Raven votes yes.
Okay, thank you, Lauren. Okay, is there a motion to approve the Board of Selectmen meeting minutes for the meeting of September 10th, 2020?
I, Lauren Raven, motion to approve our minutes from the Board of Selectmen meeting September 10th, 2020.
Jill Oberlander, I'll second that motion.
All those in favor, Fred Camillo, yes.
Jill Oberlander, yes.
Lauren Raven, yes.
Okay, thank you. With that, we will go on to the updates, the first Selectmen's updates. We continue to meet with representatives from Aquarium and neighboring towns and cities regarding the drought and our reservoir system. We're below 50% at about 48% now. So we're reminding people to shut off their sprinklers and to reduce watering to one day a week. I was at 2 days a week, so I wasn't fit in that category myself. So please, if everybody adheres to this, we'll be okay, and hopefully we'll get some rain in the coming weeks. But for now, we really have to pay attention to that. The Emergency Operations Center was used for the public safety. Our recent Storm Preparedness Task Force, they have completed their work. Chief Dan Warzoa was the chair of that. We just received a copy of it. I have not gone over all of it yet, so we'll be releasing it in the coming days. But from what I've seen, there's some good stuff on it. I was in on many of the meetings, so I did know some of this, but there's some really good stuff in there. And some are short term, some are longer term, some will cost some money. So it's obviously we're going to be meeting with our finance board. But all in all, they really stayed on task and really produced a great report, and everybody that was on it confirmed that. So that opinion. So stay tuned for that in the coming days. Another issue that's come up recently, and I'm sure Lauren and Jill may have heard some of this stuff too. What we allow on residential property and on public property in residential neighborhoods. Specifically, right now, we have either commercial vehicles or RVs, recreational vehicles. Certain commercial vehicles are prohibited on private property, but not RVs. And I wanted to bring up just so we can discuss maybe in the next meeting, whether or not we address the RVs that are parked on public property, i.e. the roads, in residential neighborhoods. It's all over town. I don't think it's a lot of instances, but they're in different parts of the town. And I know some who I think are on this call have advocated for banning them on private property. I don't know if people want to go that far, but they do, I think personally, they do take away from the aesthetics of a neighborhood. But for our purposes now, I wanted to just put on everybody's radar and hopefully we could take it up at the next meeting, whether we want to do something about RVs that are parked on roads in residential areas. I know they do create a safety hazard because they're so big they block views. But beyond that, it really does take away from the aesthetics of a neighborhood. And I know in 2 cases I know of people that do that, and they're great people, and they're not breaking any laws or rules right now, or ordinances. But I think it's something we should take up, and because people are asking, and certainly if someone is selling their house, like in one case, they're upset because people are coming to look at their house, and it doesn't look good. And so, just to keep it on your radar. And if somebody in the later part of this meeting wants to speak up from the public, certainly we'd love to hear from them. The Edgewood Drive issue regarding the uploading and unloading of vehicles on Edgewood Drive remains under review. I expect we'll have an update at the October 8th Board of Selectmen meeting. The census, as you probably read, Lieutenant Governor Byswitz came to town on it was Tuesday or Wednesday, and we walked around. And the good news is we had a goal to beat our town's response rate 10 years ago, which was north of 69%. We're at 70.2%. So we beat that, which is great. That's one goal. Another goal is to stay ahead of the state average, which we've been trailing the whole time. We just recently caught and surpassed the state average, which is 70%. We're at 70.2. So that's great. But we still have a few more days, and I'd like to see us really get the number up a little bit more. And we knocked at about 8 doors that day, and all but one had filled the census out already. So that person was going to get on it that night with her parents and her siblings. So it was a very successful hour spent. But that's very important because it relates to dollars. For each person that doesn't respond, it costs the state $2,900. And also it's representation in Congress. We've already lost a congressional seat due to population loss. And at least as far as last year, we were slated to lose another one in 2030. So we'd be down to 4 congressmen. So who knows if that's changed a little bit with the pandemic and people moving here from New York, but it's still a concern. So this certainly is very important to have that everybody was able to fill out that census. This week, you also saw the same day, we had a water wheelchair dedication at Todd's Point. The Greenwich Lions raised the money and donated it to the town. And this piece of equipment will help citizens who are disabled to access our water. And our goal really is to have all our beaches have a mat and one of these water wheelchairs, which is very comfortable. Joe Dowling took the first ride on it, and it looked really comfortable. I asked him if it was, and he confirmed it was, so that was great. So it was really a good day for the town, but we want to continue moving in that direction and make sure that everybody has equal access to all of our beautiful amenities here in town. Greenwich Avenue, I wanted to ask my colleagues on the board to see if we can come up with a date in the next week or two where we can have a public hearing like we used to do in Hartford, and they still do, where people can weigh in about the avenue. I met again with the merchants on the bottom of the avenue, and while the restaurants are all in about the last block or restaurant row, as it's been come to be known now as, they're all in on keeping it shut to traffic. And a couple of merchants are too, I've spoke to. But there were several merchants there that told me they're hurting. And so, we have some options. It's hard to close it during the day like they offered, which was kind of them, just to 3 or 4 o'clock and then close it down again. It's hard to do that because people are shopping, who's stuck in there, who's going to get locked in there, who's going to be in charge of pushing the barriers back and forth. It kind of creates a little bit of confusion. It's not impossible, but we were thinking either we keep it the way it is or we open it up 24/7, but keeping the nodes there, which means that if we do that, all those restaurants that are out on the last block, out on the road, that don't have a barrier will have to get one because now you'll have cars, even if they're going 5 miles an hour. The liability is too great there. So we would get barriers, which is fine. We're working on that already, but we want to hear from people, the merchants, the restaurant owners, the citizens of town. So we'll circle back offline, and if you could grab a couple dates there, I think it would be really good. And anytime we have an issue like this, I think it would be good for the board to have these public hearings, just to allow people, even if it's 2 hours, just to allow them to weigh their concerns and their opinions, and then we could take that into consideration when deciding, in this case, as a traffic authority. And one final note, that we're planning to open up Town Hall again on October 13th. There are some smaller towns that have opened, and there was 1 or 2 that have never closed, but they're very small towns. So as far as we know, there are no towns that are, the size of Greenwich, 63,000 people, that have opened yet. But we think we're ready because we all have masks, and people will be required to wear masks. We have the sanitary stations all around, and we will still keep the appointment option for people. And we took account, we get like 500 or 600 people here during normal times during the day. So I doubt there's going to be 100 people at one time, but we'll monitor that. And so just like the grocery stores or the restaurants, we'll make sure that if it's too crowded, we have a handle on it, and they'll just have to wait in line, but like everybody else does. But we think it will speed up the government. We don't want to fall too far behind, and I think it also will bring some sense of normalcy to the town. And God forbid something happens, we can pull back. But we have all the precautions in place already. So we just think it's time, and hopefully it'll work out fine and allow people to catch up a little bit on some of the things they've been putting off. So with that, thank you for listening. And Lauren, you want to start off with your updates?
Sure. So the Reimagine Greenwich committee, Fred, your first Selectmen's committee to Reimagine Greenwich, we had our first regular meeting on September 18th. This will get posted, but our next meeting will be September 30th. And what the team is doing, we did agree on the mission statement and the goals for the committee, and to focus on 2 short-term initiatives. One with the goal to improve the experience of our residents and visitors, and certainly to support the local economy on Greenwich Avenue. And 2 of the ideas are what we've tossed around for quite a bit, the trolley tram, and then also improving the aesthetics of the barriers that are used to create the eating environment for the restaurants. The committee had lots of questions that are better answered by DPW and planning and zoning. So we're already reaching out for some participation at future meetings to get everyone on the same page. Also busy scheduling boards and commission interviews. We have a lot of term expirations at the end of October. And I wanted to publicly thank the RTM committees that interviewed the 20 plus members that we nominated, and certainly for the RTM for approving them. I know that we did have a backlog, some of it COVID induced, and just really appreciate handling the surge and getting that done for the September meeting.
Okay, thank you, Lauren. Jill, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you. Yeah, a lot of updates from the Sustainability Committee. We now are, and I think Reimagine as well, on the town website. So if you're looking for membership or information, we're listed under the committees appointed by the first selectman, and we're going to be filling out our webpage, hopefully with more data. I'd like to do a special thank you to everyone who participated in the bike safety awareness event on September 12th. That was organized by Alexandra Mock out of the Conservation Commission, and it was supported town-wide. The Greenwich Police, the Bicycle Patrol were very active. GEMS was there. I believe any number of town departments came out. 50 elementary school students received training, and a number of town volunteers. A highly, highly successful event to raise bicycle awareness and encourage bicycle usage. The Sustainability Committee is also, the subsectors are working on a variety of proposals on different areas like transportation and air quality, food, waste issues, food sustainability, air issues and water issues, as well as aesthetics enhancement issues as well. So that's a very active committee, and please reach out with questions. It is overlapping with a lot of the work that's being done by the, find the right name for it, the Governor's Council on Climate Change, which has just started their public meetings this week. The first selectman asked me to sit in on behalf of the town, and they're working on climate change mitigation and adaptation strategies with an idea that some measurable progress should be made by 2030 and indeed by 2050. There's a lot of exciting work that's going on that front as well, and the Sustainability Committees will dovetail with that as well. So more to come. Please stay tuned. In addition, I liaise with the Harbor Management Commission, and they've been really active over the summer. There is a new harbor master that's been appointed by the governor, Sean Jordan. I'm sure many of you who are out on the water will see him, and please stop, say hello, welcome him to the position in Greenwich. And they're actively working to line up everything we need to proceed with some of the dredging projects that have been approved in our budget for the last 2 years. And so just getting the different pieces in line so that when we can start work again, we'll be ready to go. And those are the highlights. Thanks, Fred.
Thank you, Jill, and thank you for representing the town on that governor's committee, and much appreciated. That is important. And I forgot to circle back with Alan. Where are we on the EV charging stations at Town Hall?
So we're trying to network with the proposed vendor. So for those of you who haven't previously heard of this project, we're working on a pilot project to install an electric vehicle charging station in the town hall garage and the second level, and Town Buildings has put in the infrastructure that we need to connect the charger. And now we're working out, we had a proposal from one vendor to rent a unit that was really economical, and we're trying to, in COVID, some of that communication was lost. We're trying to reestablish connection with that vendor. If that vendor isn't able to meet our requirements, we'll go out and look for an alternative to get this pilot project started. But since you're talking about electric vehicle charging stations, the subcommittee on transportation air quality did have a meeting yesterday, received a presentation on EV charging stations and how to spread the wealth essentially through the community, and looking at Fairfield as an example. And we'll be looking at developing a more robust proposal over the next several months, so that committee will be to just enhance what we're able to provide, with the idea that the more electric vehicles that are using, that are in town and are reducing our carbon footprint, will be better off on the climate change side.
Oh, thank you. Thanks. It's exciting stuff. Okay, that's it for the updates. I don't see anything under old business. Under new business, first on the agenda is to amend a traffic ordinance to reflect the reconfiguration of street width on Museum Drive. And with that, we have our Deputy Chief, Mark Marino, and the Head of Parking Services. Good morning, Chief.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to be able to present today. I think really the couple of items I have are, one of them is more of a bookkeeping thing, and the other one is just a minor change. I'll start out, if I may, with the Museum Drive. DPW recently did a sidewalk installation on the southern side of Museum Drive, closest to Steamboat Road. And in order for it to be ADA compliant, it required shifting the road a little bit, and that affected the width of the road. So some of the 12-hour parking spaces that were on that side of the street in that area were simply shifted a little bit further east on the roadway. And part of this project also involved reconfiguring the eastern end of the road, which allowed them to make it a little bit wider and therefore add some additional parking spaces on that end of the street, which would be the northern end of the street. So really, what we're looking to do is just change some of the language in the charter so that it currently reflects the parking situation on that street. And one of the things the project did was extended and completed the sidewalk on the southern side of the road, which is certainly a safety enhancement for pedestrians in that area that are going maybe from the playground or the museum to Steamboat Road and possibly downtown. So that's an enhancement that's much appreciated. And it also now allows for an increase in the number of parking spaces on that street. So that's pretty much the deal with Museum Drive.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions for Deputy Chief Marino? Okay, anytime you're adding spaces, I think it's a good thing. Jill, did you have a question?
Absolutely.
No, I just wanted to thank Deputy Chief Marino for answering my questions and recognizing that we're just cleaning up what's been done. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anytime, of course.
Okay, thank you. So I guess we could just go ahead is there a motion to
Yeah.
accept this?
So, Lauren Raven, I motion to amend the traffic ordinance to reflect the reconfiguration of street width on Museum Drive.
Is there a second?
Overlander, I second that nomination, that recommendation. Motion.
All those, thank you. All those in favor, Fred Camillo votes yes.
Jill Overlander votes yes.
Lauren Raven votes yes.
Okay, that item's done. Thank you, Chief. And then the next one, you're up batting second also. It's to amend the traffic ordinance to include 7 streets in the residential parking permit program that were approved previously.
Yeah, so again, this is more of a bookkeeping thing. If you recall, we recently had a resident in Byram bring up the issue of residential parking on Mead Avenue. That caused me to do some research into the town charter with regards to the residential streets and comparing what's currently in the charter with what's currently being recognized and which have been recognized for many years as streets that are part of that program. So basically, what we found out was there's 7 streets that are part of the program that I assume in years past had been approved, but for one reason or another, the language and the streets never made it into the actual charter or code, town code. So part of the information that was distributed with regards to that, you can see that 6 of the 7 streets, we have anywhere between 39 permits that were issued this year for Church Street West, to 22 for William Street. So these streets are very active in the program, and the residents are buying permits on an annual basis. And so, again, what I'm just trying to do is have the charter actually reflect what is currently being done as far as the parking arrangement on those particular streets.
I'll start handing up that way on my whole side.
Greg, you're on mute.
Thank you. I'm talking to myself. Thank you, Lauren. Chief, thank you for that presentation. I have 3 quick questions. Were the hours always the same on these streets? Say, for example, on Church Street West, was it always 11 to 2? I remember, I could recall years ago when I got a ticket that it was out of that window of time. Or has it always been like that, or have we amended that?
I think it's been that way for quite some time. I couldn't tell you exactly when. The only record that we were able to find for Church Street West was from 2007, when the Board of Selectmen, it was then First Selectman Lash, approved Church Street West in Byram for part of the residential program. We have that signed document from the Board of Selectmen, but again, that never made it into the charter. That document doesn't list the actual times that enforcement would be in place. So the new language will clarify those types of things, you know, days of the week and the hours of the day. And so it will be codified in the charter correctly.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Mead Avenue, we heard from our friend Liz Eckert, who was inquiring of us and asking us to look into adding Mead Avenue to this just a few weeks ago. So we agreed that Liz would circle back with the Byram Neighborhood Association and see if there's any other streets so we don't do it piecemeal. So looking at this, Mead Avenue is already in this permit program.
There's a very small section of Mead Avenue that is part of the program. It's actually a small stretch of the street that goes from Church Street West to William Street. There's 4 houses that are part of the residential program there. And I think that was done because that section of Mead Avenue is the closest to the business district, you know, which causes a greater hardship for the residents that live in that particular section. There is some public parking along the side of the firehouse, you know, for the businesses in that area. And then the rest of Mead Avenue is not part of the residential program.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll circle back with Liz. I know she was concerned about mainly the whole road and the area where the Byram Schubert and New Leb entrances, which is right there on the border. So I didn't know if I don't know if she's aware of that little tiny section between William Street and Church Street West, but certainly I think she wants, the residents there were looking for an expansion of that. So thank you for clarification. And last question, how much are the permits now for somebody who may live on these streets?
$24 for a 2-year period.
So 12 per year.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. Any other questions for Deputy Chief Marino? Jill?
Yeah, again, just to clarify for people who did not receive the latest memo, that this is just reflecting what's already been approved. It just that the charter hadn't been updated. So we're not expanding, we're not diminishing, we're just reflecting the existing program in the charter.
That's absolutely correct. Yeah, there's no streets that are being added at this time or deleted.
Right. Thank you for that clarification.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Chief. Is there a motion to approve the amended traffic ordinance?
Lauren Raven, I motion to approve the amended traffic ordinance to include 7 streets in the residential parking permit program that were approved previously.
Jill Oberlander, I'll second that motion.
Thank you. All those in favor, Fred Camillo's yes.
Jill Oberlander is yes.
Lauren Raven is yes.
Chief, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you all. Barbara, if you could, once you get the signed documents, please forward them to parking.
Will do, sir.
All right, thank you. Have a good day, everyone.
You too. Stay safe.
So,
Okay, we go on to item C under new business, a request from the Greenwich Teen Center to co-sponsor an event with Neighbor to Neighbor, ending no later than March 31st, 2021. And with that item is our Town Administrator, Ben Brandon. Good morning, Ben.
Good morning, all. Before I provide very brief introductory comments, I'd just like to mention that I'm joined also today via Zoom by Assistant Town Attorney Abby Wadler, Kyle Silver, who's the Executive Director of the Greenwich Teen Center, and last is Margaret Goldberg, who's the Executive Director of Neighbor to Neighbor. As the memo has stated, the action requested before you is to approve the request from the Teen Center to co-sponsor an event with Neighbor to Neighbor, ending no later than March 31st, 2021. In your packet, there is an email from Kyle Silver requesting this approval and explaining what has happened, but very quickly, given the COVID-19 restrictions, the Teen Center can no longer be utilized in their traditional manner. And I think as we all are aware, with COVID-19, became a substantial increase in the food pantry demand, which was provided that demand was met by Neighbor to Neighbor, but those two impacts created this unique opportunity that utilizing the second floor of the Teen Center for Neighbor to Neighbor's food operations. Since the Teen Center leases a building from the town, and in order for Neighbor to Neighbor's use of the building to be compliant with the lease that the Teen Center has, they need to seek approval from the Board of Selectmen, which we pointed out under paragraph 12B regarding co-sponsor of events from, quote, reasonable or responsible and recognized local community organizations. Assistant Town Attorney Abby Wadler has reviewed this request and finds it consistent with the lease. In addition, we worked with both the Teen Center, Neighbor Law Department, and Risk Management to ensure that all insurances are current and up to date. Absent any comments that Abby, Kyle, or Margaret would like to make, we're happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay. Thank you, Ben. Are there any questions for Ben? Lauren, Jill?
not really a question, more of a statement. So thank you to the Teen Center for pivoting on the use of the building, and thank you to Neighbor to continue to provide food for those in need.
Thank you. And Jill had her hand up.
Yeah, for the same purpose, not as a question, but really to emphasize that this is an example of the true public service and commitment of this community. First, I'll speak to Neighbor and Margaret and for her leadership and stepping in to make sure that all of our residents, those that have enough and those that are in need, had access to what they needed and for keeping us apprised and immeasurable service. So thank you. I know you were relatively new to the community this year and trial by fire, but we're so appreciative. And then to Kyle and to the entire board and staff of Arch Street and the Teen Center, thank you for making this such a seamless transition for all of our residents and for stepping forward with this proposal. I really appreciate all that you're doing to help out our community.
Thank you, and well said. First, Kyle, echo what Jill just stated, but also thanks for all you do for running really what is a town treasure down there. And it means a lot to so many people. So thank you for what you do year in and year out. And Margaret, you've just been terrific. And as Jill said, you've come in at a really tough time and handled it with grace and with a smile, and pleasure and an honor to work with you, and we all look forward to many years of a great trade association with you at Neighbor to Neighbor. So with that, is there a motion to approve this request?
Lauren Raven, I motion to approve the request from the Greenwich Teen Center to co-sponsor an event with Neighbor to Neighbor ending no later than March 31st, 2021.
Jill Oberlander, I second that motion.
All those in favor, Fred Camillo votes yes.
Jill Oberlander votes yes.
Lauren Raven votes yes.
Okay, thank you, Kyle and Margaret for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And
Thank
Ben, thank you, Ben, for presenting that.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you. Okay, now we're going to go on to an amended item agenda here where we're going to speak to the road closure request by Eversource. And I don't have any documents for that. Barbara, do we have anything online?
Yes, Fred, I emailed that to you folks earlier this morning.
Okay, thank you.
Would you like me to share that in the meeting?
Yes,
would be
actually,
terrific.
Jenny, if you could do that, that would be terrific. Thank you.
Thank you. And thanks, Barb.
And we also have Tracy Alston from Eversource joining us to answer any of your questions and concerns.
Thank you. Good morning, Tracy. Okay, we'll wait for this.
Good
to go.
morning.
Good morning.
Thank you guys for putting up with me again. Greatly appreciate it. With the final restoration starting to take place with the new substation and underground line project, I have a feeling I'll be back in front of you in a couple of weeks again as well. There are a few work issues that have to be accomplished by distribution as well to kind of finalize it and get it ready for to be energized. So with that, so there will be 2 manholes being installed. The first manhole is the one that I'm requesting today that will be installed at Phil Point and Bridge Street. It would take approximately 2 to 3 hours. They were looking to do this on Monday, the 28th. I asked that they waited until after commute time. So I was looking at maybe 9:30. If you guys think that 10 would be better, it would be at your discretion for whatever works best. I would say 3 would be the cap as far as where it would extend to. And in past, we've done one similar recently that took a little under 2 hours. So I just wanted to at least give worst case scenario would be 3. The reason that they actually would need a closure is when we do the manholes, there actually is a crane. It's a very large crane, and that would actually block access at that point. And so to be able to actually create the manhole and do the installation, the crane would need to be present for that, which is why we're requesting it. H.I. Stone is the contractor that will be doing the work. And based off of the drawing, that detour was actually what was suggested to them by Greenwich PD when they initially started discussing the job.
Okay, thank you, Tracy. I really don't have a preference, but personally between 9:30 or 10. If you're figuring 2 to 3 hours, it's going to bring, either way, it's going to bring us up through lunch hour.
Yeah, I was hoping to miss that. I just don't know if that's possible. And if you'd like, I can see if they can start earlier. But then that would still, my concern was if they started early, like at 7, we still would run into kind of your peak for commute. But I'm open to suggestions on this one.
Okay, I know there is a lot of traffic there in the morning. Jill, it's right around the corner from you, and you're up there.
Yeah.
What do you?
It's a very long project. Thank you, Tracy. So the detour that you're showing the ability, I can't tell whether the road is closed above your blue square, or is that the detour you're showing? I think that.
Yeah, it would not be right before that blue square is where they would turn them down Um, they didn't do my roads on here. I'm sorry, bear with me here.
Bridge, right over here, remember?
That Prospect, so they would,
So it's not Prospect, this is, actually, I can't think of the name of the road. It's between,
I think
Field
it's
Point
Bridge.
Road. It's up to Field Point Road. It's not Field Point Road at that point, though, I don't think.
yeah, I think it changes. That's why I'm,
Changes names, yes. I think. I could be wrong, but I'm not 100% sure. So I just think that and have you done any outreach to the neighbors or any notification? There's a big plate in the road currently that,
correct.
and I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe it intersects Bridge Street. They intersect
Bridge.
Bridge Street.
Yes, Bridge.
So I guess my question is, if the plate right now is intersecting, is in the intersection between Field Point Road and Bridge Street, are you going to be able to provide that as a detour, or is it a broader detour?
So if you see where the blue square is, so from Bridge, they'd be able to travel north or south, say going up Field Point, but it would actually be blocked, closed off from right where Bridge starts and Railroad. So they'd be able to turn left if you were heading towards town. They'd be able to go left onto Field Point, and those coming down would have to then turn onto Bridge and then go around in that loop.
Yeah.
So they would not be able to actually get to the intersection of Railroad and Field Point.
So where you would want to put your signage on road closure would be all the way out at Arch Street. There's
All the way out at Arch, correct.
because nobody's going to really want to come down Railroad.
Nobody wants to get there and then realize I can't.
Circumvent around, and it would be great if you could put I mean, if you're planning on doing it on Monday, if you could have put signage out, earlier than, let's say by Friday, tomorrow, saying that the road will be closed on Monday to give people some notice.
Well, and I can work with your PIO as well to do social, and I will get with the contractor and they can get signage out there.
Yeah, and I think, I don't know that you want to start any earlier. 10 o'clock seems reasonable because by then most of the school traffic will have gone back and forth.
Okay.
Well, but it is heavily traffic.
I know that's just an ugly area. It's never going to be a good thing. And just because I had considered and asked if it was available to do it at night, and I'll be honest with you, I ruled that out just because those residents have been through a lot.
Yes.
So
yes.
I really did not want to subject them to night work again, if at all possible. So this was kind of the lesser of two evils, per se. The good news is it'll be over very soon.
So, you said that there are going to be two manholes. This is just for one manhole.
That is for one. The second one would actually be Prospect and Field Point, but we've ran into some conflicts underground on that. So we're actually meeting with Jim Michael tomorrow to finalize that position, which is why I didn't present that one today. So I will get on your agenda, I believe, for your October 8th meeting.
Okay.
So we should have the conflicts resolved by tomorrow, but we're actually meeting with DPW tomorrow to see if we can figure out a happy medium there. I believe the schedule is we're trying to get the substation energized, I believe, for the last week of October. So hopefully we can get out of everybody's hair at that point and people can breathe a little bit.
When you'll be responsible for repaving those streets in that area?
Oh, yes. Yes.
And when is that on?
Jill, I can actually follow up. They're hoping to get all of the restoration done prior to the asphalt plants closing.
Mm-hmm.
So the goal is to get that done pretty shortly after that final work is done on that last manhole. And if you'd like, I typically get weekly updates. And once I get a status for that last manhole, I can provide a scheduling for the paving. I can share that with you.
That would be great. When do the asphalt plants typically close?
Normally they start in November.
Okay, so
November,
it
December.
is critically important. I don't think we want to leave that road the way it is through another.
No, and they did not have any intention on doing that. We've also worked closely with Mr. Granoff as well, because we're going to be doing a little bit of his driveway as well,
Right.
since we've done some work there. So it really depends on the weather. With the plants, sometimes they actually extend a little bit further, but the intention was to have that restoration done this year. So it was definitely looking to finalize all of that.
Have you notified the businesses in the affected businesses in the area that you're planning on closing the road for 3 hours on Monday?
I was told yes, and I will confirm that.
Okay.
And I will make sure that, even because at this point, I think a notification as far as written would kind of fall short. If they have to
Right.
go door to door, they will get it communicated, I assure you.
Particularly to the businesses, the fish store and right adjacent, there's a physical therapy shop right adjacent.
Physical therapy, yeah.
Yeah, they need to notify their clients that.
We've been in touch with almost all of those pretty much on a consistent, if not weekly basis. So
Yes.
we definitely try to keep them in the loop, and we provide them weekly updates as well. They get a weekly update, letting them know all of the work that goes on and what's planned. So I'll be sure that that's included.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Tracy, and thank you, Jill. Okay,
So Jill, you want us to start at 10 is the preferred time?
I think 10 is better than 9:30, to be honest. with you.
Okay.
There's
Nope,
still a lot of people commuting back, driving through and.
Okay. Then I will communicate 10, and that's what we'll do with the signage. And I'll work with your PIO as well to be sure that they're in the loop and that we can do social media on it.
yeah, thank you. Yeah, I don't have any preference, so I'm good to go with 10. Lauren, are you?
Yeah, I think that's fine. I too travel around there at lunchtime, so it's not going to matter 9:30 or 10. It's still going to impact the lunch.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Well, we're erring on the side of getting it over sooner rather than later. So, okay, thank you so much, Tracy.
Thank you for letting me present. I appreciate it.
Our pleasure. Okay, is there a motion to accept this road closure request for the 28th of September?
For Lauren Rabin, I motion to approve the request for a temporary road closure on September 28th at Field Point Road, starting approximately 10 a.m.
Jill Oberlander, I'll second that motion.
All those in favor, Fred Camillo votes yes.
Jill Oberlander votes yes.
Lauren Rabin votes yes.
Okay, thank you very much. And before we break to go into executive session to discuss proposed settlement, I wanted to just see, we have a few attendees left. I think there's 7. If anybody wanted to raise their hand and make a comment on any of the things discussed in the last hour or so, or just anything on their mind, because I know there was a few people that were tuning in today.
We do have one hand raised so far, actually 2. So
Rob.
Koch Robin.
Okay, please identify yourself, please.
Yes, this is Robin Cash. Can you all hear me? I'm not sure how this works, so.
We can hear you, Rob.
All right. I'd like to talk about a situation that we have on Ivy Street in High Street in Greenwich about a RV. I think it's been brought to the attention of Planning and Zoning. It's a RV that's about the size of a tractor trailer truck that's been parked on somebody's backyard that's open for everybody to see. There's been a lot of complaints on it in our area.
Yeah. I have seen it, Rob. Thank you for bringing it to our attention. The town is aware of it, and there seems to be some question on top of it being there, whether or not it's encroaching on some of the town property. And I haven't heard and seen any confirmation yet whether it has.
Well, the person that owns it, first of all, they put up a shed which is over 6 feet tall. They never went to Planning and Zoning to get permission to put the shed up. That's number one. Number two, to access their backyard to park this recreational vehicle, They actually had to put gravel on town property and break the curb. They didn't break the curb, but they went over the curb to park it where they parked it. And the people that own the property, it's not their vehicle that they parked there. And it's an eyesore to the community, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, I've seen it, and that's why I made my comments before. I know people are a little hesitant to do anything to diminish private property rights, but that really does affect a neighborhood. It does change the look and feel of a neighborhood.
Yeah, I mean, the property values are obviously going to go down. Who wants to buy a house in that vicinity with that eyesore there?
Right. And so we're, whether or not we take up the private issue or the public road issue, I mean, this is a very relevant discussion, I think, for everybody in town to have.
I agree with you 100%, because if there's not a law on the books, there should be a law in the books to make this, so this doesn't happen to anybody else again.
Yeah, I appreciate you. You're not the only one in the High Street, Ivy Street area that's contacted me on this. And
Okay.
I went by the other day to take a look at it. I know the house, I know the vehicle, I know the owner. I certainly wouldn't want to look at it, but I want to see what my colleagues, what their thoughts are on this. I know, Lauren, you lived around the corner from this area a while ago, so you're familiar with.
Well, that's why I was laughing, because Rob and I used to get your mail.
That's correct. That's right. We exchanged mail back then on Gold.
Yes.
Yep.
So I totally understand yours and the neighbor's point of view, and I think it's something that we need to look into. Just again, I'm not equating it to anything related to the blight ordinance, but there is something that's impacting the aesthetic and potentially property values. So I think we need to understand what it is and what, if anything, could be done.
I mean, truthfully, if it was one of those things where it was a temporary thing and it was going to be there for a week, I mean, I understand everybody has an issue, they have a complication, but it's not even parked in the driveway. If it was parked in the driveway, I'd have no complaint. I couldn't say anything. What can you say? It's their vehicle. It's parked in their driveway, but it's not. And that's the whole issue. And if Fred's seen it already, then he actually knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and you're confirming what we've heard from other people, which is even though people don't like them in private property either in a residential neighborhood, a lot of people are very hesitant about going that far. As you can see, even with the blight ordinance, which I think has overwhelming support throughout the town and probably even on the RTM, there's still some people that are bringing up, private property concerns. So even though to me that's a no-brainer personally, this one here is a little bit more of a gray area. But I'm just coming at it from the point of view of, do we allow these RVs to be parked on public property, i.e. roads, in residential areas? To me, it could be a problem. I agree with you, Rob, 100%. If somebody says, you know what, I'm going to be here every 3 weeks, when I come back from Florida, whatever, it's 3 weeks. And we could have an ordinance that allows for something like that and to be a little fluid. But to have these vehicles parked indefinitely.
It's ridiculous. Yep, I agree.
That's the issue. So maybe we can come up with some type of policy that's understanding, that's fair, that's reasonable, but that protects the integrity of the neighborhoods.
Yep, I appreciate that. That's perfect.
All right, thanks, Rob. Let's see if any comments. Jill, any thoughts?
I feel your pain, Mr. Gosh, but I need to learn a little bit more about the issue. I'm very familiar with the area, but I haven't seen the RV, but I will definitely take a drive over to take a look at it. And I see the chair of the Planning and Zoning Commission is on the line as well. So I think that some of the issues that you raised seem to be enforcement issues under zoning.
Yep.
And perhaps we can have a conversation offline about enforcement issues as well. In this time, actually, one of the things that I've been thinking a lot about is how we can all be better neighbors to one another. This is a particularly challenging year for many of us for any number of reasons, and
100%.
sensitivity to our neighbors and what they may be experiencing on both sides is something that we should all be aware of. So I'd like to thank you, Fred, for giving the opportunity, but I'd like to look into it a little bit more.
Okay, the only alternative we have left is we're all going to buy, all our neighbors, we're going to buy pink flamingos.
Please invite us over. We'll wear appropriate shirts and
And a blow up pool. And a blow
I'm
up
a
pool.
big fan of pink flamingos, so there you go.
Rob, thanks so much. Appreciate it. We'll
right.
circle back on this.
All right, thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Much appreciated.
All right,
Okay.
bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Have a good one.
Fred, we have one other hand raised.
Yes, Mike Papa, who's we've been meeting with. Mike is the owner of Michelangelo at the bottom of the avenue, and he's been very patient. He's been on here for a while. And Mike, as you heard, we're going to try and get a date that works for Lauren, Jill, and I in the next week or two, where we can do a public hearing on this. And your thoughts going forward on the bottom of the avenue. I know them, but I don't know if my colleagues know all of it. So the floor is yours, Mike.
Mike, you'll need to unmute.
Okay, hi, can you hear me? Thanks.
Okay, now, Mike.
Thanks for taking the message. Yeah, anything that could be done to help us 20 retailers down here. We're losing them every day. I mean, St. Moritz, 60 years on the lower part of the avenue. I'm down here 40 plus years. My customers are calling every day. It's just a total inconvenience. We really don't understand why we can't have pods like the rest of the street. We've went out and we've had a few people go out and measure who are engineers. And we've calculated that we can get 27 spots on the street to be open during the day. And you know, what's also really depressing now is that even one of the restaurants who does a booming business at night is not even opening at lunch anymore because there's not enough people to have his wait staff there. I mean, it's awfully distressing because on Saturdays, if it rains, the total street is closed down. No one could do any business. You know, in Greenwich, being here 40 years, on a rainy or horrible day, I do my best business because people are not sailing, they're not playing golf, they're not going to tennis, they're doing shopping. But to be totally closed down on a horrible day, or yesterday I took a video at lunchtime between 12 and 4, and really there was about 3 people between East End and all the way up almost to the corner having lunch within that 3-hour time span. I don't understand. We talked about maybe closing the street at 3 or 4 o'clock, which all the retailers were agreeable with that. But total closure like this is just absolutely horrible. And I don't know why we should suffer like this. It just doesn't make any sense.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Much appreciated. And I had, obviously you and I have spoken a lot on that. I do want to correct one thing. If we open it up, we're going to gain 9 spots, not 27. I know you had asked if we could push some of the, have some of the tables and chairs that are on the road pushed in during the day to enable more seating, more parking. The problem is, once we open this up, then we have to put Jersey barriers at all those nodes, and they can't be moved. So, because it puts the town in a terrible position of liability, we can't have them sitting out there without Jersey barriers. So, once we do this, like you said, you wanted just nodes, and that's fine. I think everybody knows this is a really positive thing for Greenwich. The biggest thing I've seen downtown in my lifetime. I've been here 58 years down there, but we're trying to.
It's only benefiting the restaurants because
we're trying to. Let me finish first. We're trying to accommodate everybody, but once the Jersey barriers go up, you're only going to gain 9 spots, not 27. I want to make sure that's very clear.
No, I can send you the blueprint from the engineer that walked around figuring the pods, because a lot of the landlords who own these buildings are very upset that the restaurants have taken up putting tables in front of their retail establishments. And everybody's been holding back from making a big scene over this. And I'm trying to keep everybody calm and let's get this,
Okay.
settled, but I don't know how much longer I could hold off these people because they're really upset.
No, I certainly understand, and I've been in contact with a lot of them. And again, it's not totally unanimous. There are some merchants that have told me.
Two
Well,
out of 20.
No, there's actually a little bit more than that, but that's okay. It does. The point is, as I said to you from the beginning, we're going to try and help everybody. And if you say you have a concern and you're the only one that's having a problem, then it's our obligation to listen to what you're saying and try to come up
No,
with.
it's not just me. You met 18 of us on the street.
My
at
point,
that
I was
meeting.
just giving you an example. I said, if you were the only one, we would still be
Okay.
trying to help you. So my point is, you're not going to get 9 spots. You're not going to get 27 spots. I don't know, engineer you had there. We had our DPW, we had Jim Michael there. Ben, our town administrators looked at it, and they're coming up with 9 spots. Once these nodes, once these Jersey barriers go up, that's it. We can't move them in and out during the.
Let's all meet together and I'll have the engineer there. And I'd like to have the other people on the board, your board, see this blueprint from the engineers because it works up the street from Pastavera down to Richards. And when Richards Street was closed, within 2 days after they complained, you opened it up. I don't really understand why down here for 2 months we're having this discussion and we're all still suffering. It just doesn't make any sense.
Well, again, we've heard, again, from lots of people on the other side of this, but we're trying to accommodate everybody as best we can. So we will have this public hearing and well, as soon as we get the dates, I'll shoot you a note and let you know. It's going to be fairly soon because we don't want this to drag on any longer.
Yeah, when you say, because I thought 2 weeks ago when we met, you said we're going to open this in a few days.
I didn't never said we were going to open it up in a few days. I said we were going to go back there. We came down there twice already with all the department heads to go over this stuff. No one ever said we're going to look at it again and try to come up with a solution. That's what I said. Never anything else. So if anybody else has any questions before we go into executive session for Mike or thoughts, but we will get back as soon as we hear.
How could we expedite it? That's all I want to know. How could we move this on?
As I said, as soon as I get the availability of Lauren and Jill for a public hearing, we will let you know. Okay.
Thank you. I certainly am committed to win-win situations wherever possible.
Thank you. Okay. Much appreciated, Mike. We'll circle back with you. I don't see any other hands there. So is there a motion to go into executive session to take up 2 proposed settlements?
So Lauren Raven, I motion that we go into executive session at 11:09.
Okay. Is there a second?
Jill Oberlander, I'll second that motion.
Okay. All those in favor, Fred Camillo, yes.
Jill Oberlander, yes.
Lauren Raven, yes.
Are we doing executive session by phone?
Yes, phone only. And don't forget we have our 11:30 appointment.
Right. So we just stop your video and you.
And your audio as well. You have the dial-in number, which was emailed. I'll need a motion to leave your executive session.
I motion that we exit executive session at 12:24 and enter back into regular session.
Jill Oberlander, I'll second that motion.
All those in favor, Fred Camillo is yes.
Jill Oberlander is yes.
Lauren Raven is yes.
Okay.
And then we have one item on new business, which we move to item E. So I would like to motion that we accept the proposed settlement of workers' compensation claim number 0095204 and 0141968.
Jill Oberlander, I'll second that motion.
Okay, and I took myself out of this because of the relation to the former employee. So I did not vote nor participate in the discussion.
So all those in favor?
Yes. Jill Oberlander votes yes.
Lauren Raven votes yes.
Very good.
And Fred, you are abstaining? Is that
I'm
the official?
abstaining due to a relation to the former employee of the town.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And then next item on our agenda before adjourning is appointments and nominations. So Lauren Raven, I am making a motion to appoint 7 people to the Greenwich High School Security Vestibule Building Committee. And the 7 people in alpha order by first name are Ashley Cole, Jake Allen, Louis Contadino, Maureen Bonanno, Megan Galata, Stephanie Cowie, and Stephen Wacko.
Okay. Is
I'll
there,
second that motion.
you seconded it?
Jill Oberlander, I second that motion.
Okay, all those in favor of the proposed 7 members to this vestibule, GHS vestibule committee? Fred Camillo votes yes.
Jill Oberlander votes yes.
Lauren Raven votes yes.
Okay, thank you. It's a very good committee, so thank you very much. With that, is there a motion to adjourn the regular meeting of September 24th of the Board of Selectmen?
Jill Oberlander, motion to adjourn. Sorry, Lauren.
Lauren Raven second.
Switching it up. All those in favor, Fred Camillo, yes.
Jill Oberlander, yes.
Lauren Raven, yes.
Okay, thanks. See you in the next meeting.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.